Hey, welcome into this week's episode of Cincinnati Podcasts. I'm your host, T Money. That's main man out in Raleigh, the East Coast Cincy representative, Giggsy. How's it going, Giggsy?
What's up? Luke Fickle, baby.
Oh, yeah.
Luke
Get to
Fickle.
keep
Woo.
just that. He gave us a heart attack. It's been a wild ride for Cincinnati this week. We're going to get into all the rankings. We're going to talk about Fickle to Notre Dame. We're going to give it preview ECU and then a review of ECU. And then a preview of the big game versus Houston this week. And then we'll touch on everything going on in the basketball world as well. Exciting stuff for Cincinnati Podcasts here. Really, really pumped as we get into conference championship weekend here. Only a few games playing, but hey, Cincinnati is, and that's all that matters. So before we get started and dive into everything, this podcast is sponsored by Chili Labs. Chili Labs is owned and operated by a UC alum and is the most affordable lab-tested CBD on the market. You can find out more at chililabs.com. Use a promo code CATS for 10% off. So let's dive right in. Initial thoughts on the college football rankings here, Greg. We got Georgia 1, Michigan 2, Bama 3, and Cincinnati 4 with Oklahoma State and Notre Dame looking in. What are your thoughts here?
Oh, just about exactly what I figured it would be. I assumed, especially given the way Alabama played against Auburn, but even had it been a blowout, I think Alabama still would have stuck at 3, and I expected to see Michigan make that jump up to 2. Ohio State also fell just about as far as I assumed they would. They're still at the top of the 2 lost teams.
Yep.
At number 7. So, and I agree with that. I think they're the best 2 lost team that there is. So everything kind of looked the way I thought it would.
Yeah, I'm pretty surprised at that as well. I do think it actually looks pretty right. I'm not going to get too crazy in depth, but the main thing is, how do we make it right now? Let's assume Cincinnati wins this weekend. Knock on wood there for all the listeners. But the biggest thing is 3 reasons to lock up us getting in. Alabama loses, Michigan loses, or Oklahoma State loses. We are a lock to make the college football playoff. Any of those 3 happen, that is fine. The biggest one is if Oklahoma State wins and we do, there will be some debate, but I don't trust the committee to not put a 1-loss Power 5 champion in over us. So I would say one of those 3 things has to happen. Now, the Bama loss is very likely. Georgia's favored in that, but I don't think we make it unless at least one of those 3 teams lose.
Yeah, I'm on the same page, and it's kind of sad to think about. But if Bama wins, Georgia's still in. 2 SEC teams in, obviously. Michigan wins, obviously. And then I agree. I think we beat Houston and Oklahoma State beats Baylor. You're looking at a win over number 21 in the CFP rankings, over a win against what's
number
Baylor?
9.
Number 9, a win against number 9, Power 5 win, regardless of it's Big 12.
Second top 10 win in a week in a row too. So
which is solid, but the Big 12 is so propped up on absolutely nothing. Like they've been propped up on Oklahoma the whole season, and then the committee came out in the first rankings and basically said we don't think Oklahoma's that good anyway.
Yeah.
So I agree, but I mean the likelihood that one of those 3 things happens is pretty high. What are your order in most likely to least likely? I assume we're going to be on the same page.
Alabama's gonna lose. I do think that. Oklahoma State second most likely to lose, and then Michigan third most likely to lose.
Yep.
I do not think we make it. Like I said, if all 3 teams win, that is going to kick us out. The crazy one will be if Alabama loses, Michigan loses. I mean, even us and Oklahoma State lose. Now you're talking about Notre Dame getting in, Georgia's in, and then it's us with 1 loss and a bunch of 2-loss teams. Ohio State, Oregon if they win, Iowa if they win, and all these 2-loss conference champions and non-conference champions could get pretty crazy.
Yep. And I mean at that point, so then you got let's say all of those teams you said lost. Yep, you have Georgia, then
Notre
Dame, then Baylor, and then it's like for that 4th team, you're picking between us who just lost, Bama who just lost, Oklahoma State who just lost, the other 2 having 2 losses. But then you also have Ohio State. Maybe the committee likes a team that didn't end the season on a loss.
And then Iowa and Oregon also will have 2 losses and potentially a conference champion.
I would think Iowa at 13 is a little bit too far out, but I mean, who knows, honestly, who knows with the committee. But I mean, Oregon, they would beat number 17 to win the Pac-12. Yeah, there's a lot of
crazy scenarios. A lot of interesting stuff. It's going to be a wild weekend. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, that's why all we can do is just win the game. It doesn't matter how you win. I'd rather not be like super stressed about it. Like make it like an SMU win where the game was in hand after the first like 3 drives.
Yeah.
Then we can sit back and just hope for chaos elsewhere.
Yep, exactly. And I really don't think no matter how we win overtime, no matter what, as long as we win and one of those 3 teams lose, I think we're in. So I'm not too worried about it. We can touch real quick now on Ritter's Heisman chances. I know we've been following this all week, our Ritter Heisman watch. I don't think he's making it to Vegas, unfortunately. Another okay game from him. He just hasn't been dominating games like we expected, 300 yards passing, 50 yards rushing, 4 touchdowns. That's what I was expecting most of his stat lines to be versus some of those low-level teams. He's now favored with the 9th best odds. Now, there is 3 defensive players in front of him now that have jumped him. Crazy. Great season by Ritter, but unfortunately doesn't look like he's going to be in New York.
Yep, I'd agree with that. But, I mean, still just getting that far, it's a really big selling point for the program. So I'm happy. It's been great for him. Excited for him. He's still projected as one of the top 4, sometimes second, sometimes third, top 4 quarterback in this NFL draft class. So that's exciting for him. He has a chance to potentially go in the first round. Going to attend the Senior Bowl along with a bunch of other Cincinnati Bearcats, but excited for Ritter's next destination. Yep. But we'll swing over to the big news that was happening this whole week. Had all the Bearcats fans freaking out. My gosh, Luke Fickle giving us heart attacks here. Notre Dame supposedly came out after Brian Kelly took the LSU job and told us that Fickle was the favorite for the job, but they decided to go with Marcus Freeman, the old Cincinnati defensive coordinator, current Notre Dame defensive coordinator, and Marcus Freeman will now be the head coach at 35 years old. Good for him. But Fickle staying with the Bearcats, huge news for all Cincinnati fans. Yep, that was huge. So I have a few things on this that I'd like to touch on. The floor is yours, my friend. One, I've talked to you about this on the side before, but so this Fickle staying, absolutely amazing. Honestly, I was never really in that much doubt, but the thing that's kind of bumming me out is the way I saw Luke Fickle's tenure at UC turning out. We always knew Notre Dame was a threat, Ohio State was a threat, maybe Penn State, and he's turned down a lot of other big jobs. Michigan State, other Oklahoma, USC, Oklahoma, all these other jobs for sure. So the whole time it's like, okay, those are the 3 big teams. James Franklin signs a 10-year. He's out of the way. Good. So now we have 2 teams. I'm thinking Brian Kelly's 60. He is going to stay coaching at Notre Dame for the next 10 years or so and retire. At that point, I would think, okay, maybe Luke goes to Notre Dame if he's not already at Ohio State. So, and then in that case, I'm going, okay, I would doubt that Marcus Freeman would have been the D coordinator at Notre Dame for that long, but I could see him taking, his name's been tossed into the Wake Forest. Yeah, like a lower level D1 job. Exactly. And the whole time I'm thinking, okay, I'm not so optimistic that I think Luke is going to be a Bobby Bowden or Joe Paterno and just stay for their basically entire career. Yeah. But I'm thinking we would get enough time out of him. He's going to leave at some point, and then we bring Marcus right in. But the thing that's kind of bummed me out now is, I mean, I'm so happy for Marcus Freeman, amazing person, coach. He's 35 years old, like unbelievable. But I don't really see a situation in where he's ever going to be UC head coach, which really it sucks. I was always really excited for him to be Luke's gone and we plug in somebody and the train just keeps rolling. Yeah. But, and the only you can still find those guys though, we got plenty of time. Yeah, it's just kind of it's kind of sad. I always had that in the
Do
back of my
you
head.
feel better after that, Greg? It felt like you needed to really let that one out. I can tell that
Yeah,
Marcus
well,
Freeman not being the UC coach eventually really hurt you there.
I mean,
Mike just dropped.
I, do, I actually don't feel much better because I'm still kind of sad about it. But we got Luke, and I mean, the only way, and I've said this, the only way that I could even see him coming to us, because like, let's not be stupid. Notre Dame is a much better job than the UC program, no matter what this program gets turned into. But the only way I see him coming to UC is with a few failing seasons, maybe like an 8-5, couple 8-5 seasons, which like it's good, but it's not Notre Dame standards. Then I could see him coming to us. But do you want to hire the coach?
Well, he would probably come as a DC, and then Fickle would take the Ohio State job. So we'll see. You know, you never know what happens. The biggest thing, Cincinnati gets to keep Fickle. That's awesome. So excited for that. Let's take a step back, though. We played East Carolina last week. We won 35-13, covered the 14.5 point spread. What were your thoughts initially on this game as we look past ECU?
Well, it's been kind of a theme the past few weeks where we'll have a few incredible quarters. In the second and fourth quarter, we scored 21 and 14 respectively, and then a few average quarters. And I know the first quarter, ECU had the ball a lot. We blocked that punt, and then Des had a few interceptions. One was really bad in the end zone, and I can't think of the other one off the top of my head. I probably just got it out of there. But I mean, I liked what we saw from Alec Pierce at 136 yards. He looked amazing. And I mean, I'm still just happy to see how we played. Like ECU, I think we're kind of been in the mindset of they're not that great of a team because they haven't been for the past couple of years. But I mean, if you think back to before they joined the AAC, they were a powerhouse in whatever conference they were in.
Yeah, they're solid, and they turned into a decent team this year.
Exactly. It's a team with good history, and this year, like, they were pretty good. And they're bowl eligible. They're going bowling in a few weeks. So I think covering was huge because it not even just showing the committee, it just shows us as fans, this is what Vegas thought we were going to do. We covered. So I'm overall I'm happy to see it, and on to Houston.
Yep. Well, I'll touch on the good. You know, like you said, Ford had a solid game, 85 yards. Ritter had 300 yards, 2 touchdowns. You know, we were moving the ball pretty much at will. But the negatives here, Ritter threw 2 picks. Ford lost a fumble. Our kicker missed a field goal. You know, I just think it's tough to play a team like ECU and make that many mistakes and then expect us to go up against Houston, who's definitely better, and then the playoffs and be solid. So my only hope is that we've been looking forward to these last few games the entire season. Since Notre Dame, we got up for Notre Dame, and then we are ready to coast until we play Houston. That's my only hope here. After we beat Houston, that, you know, we come dialed in for the playoffs. So I'm going to give this one away. Our rush defense finally showed up. We've not been a great rush defense this whole year. 54 total yards of rushing for ECU. Great. So that was great. And they have a solid running back. So excited for that. That's my only hope. I'm going in positive this Houston game. So let's jump over into that. We're playing number 21 Houston versus number 4 Cincinnati at Nippert for the AAC championship game. FPI gives us an 82% chance of winning, and we are 10.5 point favorites. Greg, what are your thoughts heading into this big Houston matchup on Conference Championship Saturday?
I saw that FPI prediction today, and that actually surprised me how high that was. I would have put it.
PFF has us at about 62, actually.
That's, you know, I would put it a little higher than that, but I mean, that's kind of my confidence level going into this game. I'm not by any means thinking we're going to blow them out, and we could, but I think it could be a close game for the first half, and then I think we will pull away. But I don't know. I mean, Houston is a really good team.
Really good team.
Drop that game to Texas Tech at the beginning of the season.
Probably be 10th in the country or something like that.
Exactly. And God, I wish they were, because then
we'd be locked.
There's no chance. So we win that game, we're in no matter what. But I mean, you look at Well, the first thing that stands out to me is Marcus Jones. And
Yeah.
I want Alex Bales to keep the ball as far away from him as possible. I want Mason Fletcher to keep the ball as far away from him as possible. He has 2 kickoff returns and 2 punt returns for a touchdown this year. And one of those kickoff returns was the game-winning return
Walk-off
against SMU.
Yeah.
And I didn't know this. I haven't dug too much into him this year. I assumed he was a wide receiver. He's a corner with 5 interceptions on the season. So he's not just a return specialist. Like he's
a dynamic
showing up.
athlete. Yeah.
He's a first team AAC All-American or
Special teams player of the year as well.
Special teams. Yep. So I think he's a game changer. And I really think getting the ball away from him, especially on kickoffs and punts, will be huge in the field position battle.
Yeah.
And I mean, overall, Clayton Tune is a good quarterback. He's thrown for a decent amount of yards.
Yeah.
I have it right here. He's over 3,000 yards on the season with a 26-8 touchdown interception rate. Pretty good.
Yeah, he's solid.
Alton McCaskill's true freshman running back with almost 900 yards, averaging like over 5 yards a carry. It's a really good team. And I don't think anyone's taking them lightly. I'm sure as hell I'm not taking them lightly, but I know at the end of the day, we are a significantly better team.
Yeah.
So I think we just go out there, and this entire season, I'm not even going to say we've played down to competition. We have played to our competition. When it's a little bit worse, we don't do as well. When it's good, we do really well.
Yeah.
So
Notre Dame, SMU, we're ready for those games. When we think they're going to be good competition, we show up. And like you said, this offense is a solid offense. They're throwing for 272 yards a game. And Nathaniel Dell, their receiver, already has over 1,000 yards on the season. So he's solid. Yep. You touched on their running back. So they are a good team, but basically it's their defense. Their defense is 6th in total defense, 8th in rushing defense. These guys are really, really good on the defensive front. And that's one of our weaker points is our offensive line. So that's going to be the main battle. I'm keeping an eye out. Ritter to not turn the ball over. That's the biggest thing. I need him to not turn the ball over, and I need our offensive line to protect him. It's going to be a battle. I'm nervous, as I've been all year, just because this is the most Cincinnati thing ever, is to get to the end of the year, maybe make a college football playoff, and then pull something like this, and we lose on a last second field goal, or our kicker misses that we've been harping on all year. So I'm nervous for this one for sure. I think my confidence is about 75% right in there. But yeah, it's going to be a good game. I'm really excited. I'm just ready for us to, like you said, play up to our competition. When we do that, no one other than the few top teams in the country can touch us.
Yeah. What's kind of funny about you saying our offensive line is like one of our weak points, which it is that 3 of our offensive linemen made first team All AAC.
Crazy.
Jake Renfro at center, which I think is very deserved. He's a really good center.
Yeah.
But then Dylan O'Quinn at tackle and Lorenz Metz at guard, who isn't even starting anymore. Metz came in because Vinny McConnell got sick and lost a bunch of weight. So Metz came in, big 6'9" German at guard, and stood his ground and made first team All AAC.
Crazy.
And he's not even starting there anymore. So it's kind of insane, but 100%, that's our weak point. So we'll just got to go out there and win the battle of the trenches.
Yep. Excited for it. We got some football recruit news though. We had some guys that we already signed, get some upgrades. We signed a few guys. We had a few guys for visits. So it's exciting stuff. Our recruiting class is now up to 28th in the country for 2022, better than the likes of Oklahoma State, Auburn, Baylor, Ole Miss, Florida, Wisconsin, many more. Top 28 in the country. That would also put us 2nd in the new Big 12 behind Iowa State. So we're doing big things on the recruiting front, bringing in 4 stars consistently now. Really excited. But Giggsy, what we got for any updates on some of the recruiting news?
So the biggest one for me of the week, JQ Hardaway, who we signed back a while ago, I think, June 5th or July 15th, we officially signed him. He started as the number 364 prospect in the country, and he's a safety or corner. He's kind of in between. He jumped from 364 to 170. And if you remember we signed Trevor Carter a few weeks ago. He's a class of 2023 recruit. I think he came in around like 151, and this is all 24/7 sports ranking, not the composite, but he jumped from 364 to 170, makes him a 4-star, a 93 rating overall by 24/7 sports. That was really cool. I semi expected it due to the season he had, but I wasn't expecting him to jump that high. So that's a really big pickup. We knew he was great, and it just looks better.
Oh yeah.
You're getting the exact same player, but it looks a lot better.
Yeah, it's exciting stuff for us to have 2 3-stars that we scouted, signed before the season, or have been pursuing for months before the season. Both of them turn into 4-stars. I give a huge shout out to our recruiting and scouting department at Cincinnati, because we know how to identify talent that's being overlooked. And clearly that's the case here. One guy, JQ Hardaway, bumps us up from 30 to 28 after becoming a 4-star. And now we have our new quarterback up to a 4-star, huge signing. So exciting stuff as we look to finish out the year here. But let's transition here into the basketball. We had a big week last week. Since we've last talked, we played 3 games versus number 13 Arkansas, versus Monmouth, and then versus Miami of Ohio. First, we can jump into this Arkansas game. That was a tough beat there. Felt like we had control of the game. We ended up losing 73 to 67. We could not rebound to save our lives. Greg, any thoughts on that game after we beat Illinois and then played Arkansas the next day?
I was happy at the effort we gave, honestly, until the end. I was flying, and right when we started our final descent, the live TV cut out. So I did hear that the offensive rebounding was awful at the end. But, I mean, this is what we wanted to do in this tournament. We wanted to go in, play both of our opponents tough, and we did. We beat Illinois. And then Arkansas is a really good team. Eric Musselman's a really good coach. So the fact that to now number 10 Arkansas, it was a 6-point game, and for most of it, it was a lot closer than that.
Yeah,
I was fine. I liked the way we played.
Yeah, it was exciting. Like I said, I think there was at least 5 offensive rebounds by Arkansas at the end of that game. In the last 2 minutes alone, we had control of that game. We were going to win that game, and we just could not get on the glass. It was really frustrating to watch, because we win that game, we're in the top 25. We're a ranked team. Would have been really, really awesome. So, but you can't fight it. Wes Miller's first year. Don't give him big time about this. We're just trying to make the tournament this year, sneak in, and then we have a lot coming down the road. But we'll move on to this Monmouth game. We had lost 61 to 59. So 2 losses in a row at this point. It's a tough one, because once again, we should have won this thing. Wes Miller's brother actually played in the game for Monmouth. Thoughts on this one? Anything you see? I mean, like I said, tough fought one. I think we should have won this one. I don't know if there was some extra emotion for Wes there, or some letdown from the Arkansas game, but I think we let one get away from us there.
Yeah, well, in the presser, or the interview, I think it was the presser after, Wes came out and took full responsibility and said, I did not have the team ready for this game, which I love a coach actually
taking full ownership.
Yeah. And also, I'm not sure, they hear Monmouth and they don't even recognize the name, but up until, well, I checked Ken Palm yesterday, and now as of today, they're the 4th best team on our schedule. That we've played so far. They were a few spots ahead of Georgia, and now Georgia jumped them. Ken Palm has Monmouth at 165, Georgia's at 161. So it's not like we lost to a bottom, like a bye game.
Bottom feeder,
we didn't lose a bye game. We lost to a pretty solid team, a team that would probably, actually most definitely be better than a handful of teams in the American. They'd probably be at the top of the bottom third, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so that makes sense.
I think, and I think all these early games, it's a new team. There's chemistry. Also, just shots have not been going down lately.
Yeah.
It's all a learning experience. And I'd rather get these losses and the learning experiences out ahead of time than before we get into conference play. That's when you want everything to just be rolling. So overall, it's a learning experience. I don't think it was that big of a deal. And the emotions with Walker Miller and his brother. So it's is what it is.
It's not a big deal. So we actually then went on to play Miami of Ohio tight win there, 59-58, close the entire way, was only 30-29.5. They were a solid team, 5-1 for Miami heading into this game. So they were no joke of a team at the time. And one of their guys, Larry, went off for 20 points. So it was a gutsy win, solid team in Miami that we beat. I like our, ability to fight through tooth and nail to the very end and come out in a close game, because that's not been Cincinnati's identity in the past. They'll lose those close games. So exciting stuff from Wes Miller to come out on top in that one.
And I actually misspoke. Before the Miami game, Monmouth would have been number 3. Miami's actually 122 in Ken Palm, which is
not
like
a bad
surprisingly
team.
high. Yeah, they're good. I think they dropped one to like Western Illinois or someone at the beginning of the season. But yeah, Ken Palm actually, I think, had us as a 1-point favorite, and then Vegas had us by like 2 or something like that. So like this was supposed to be a pretty close game, and it was at their place. So like again, like I like these teams that they don't look that flashy, but they're actually pretty solid teams that we have on our schedule. I like the way that this is setting up for conference play, getting good experience. Abdul Adu had 14 and 14, I think, so double. He had a big game. I think Jeremiah Davenport went 4 of 8 from 3 for, I think, 14 points. So overall, again, good game. I'm happy.
Yeah, solid game. I'm excited. We have such a deep team as well. It's tough sometimes, as you get into conference play, we'll probably slim that lineup down a little bit, but doing a lot of experimenting right now. So solid win. We can preview the next week, though. We actually only have one game till we jump on a call again next week. That's the Bryant Bulldogs at home on Sunday, December 5th. BPI gives us the 80% chance of win. What are your thoughts? Any previews? Anything to look out here? Hopefully we're not looking forward to the Crosstown Shootout, which is a week from this Saturday. But right now, only thing we're looking at is the Bryant Bulldogs.
Yep. Bryant's 239 in Ken Palm. They're right behind Evansville at 228. So I think it's a game that's going to go similar to that Evansville game. I kind of see it as a game as one of the last final tune-ups where we can kind of maybe Wes Miller setting like his perfect lineup. I mean, he's still so many new pieces. You don't know what lineup's going to work the best together. So I think it's one more good game to actually get that together. And then, like you said, we have the Crosstown Shootout coming out. So I don't even expect going into that to win it necessarily, but it would be great in his first year to take down Xavier, but we'll get to that next week. But
yeah. Exciting stuff. Basketball solid. We got football this weekend. It's going to be exciting stuff. That's it for this episode of Cincinnati Podcasts, though. We're going to continue to grow the basketball as football starts to wind down here, but we'll be talking football next week after this Houston game and then previewing the Crosstown Shootout with Xavier. Exciting stuff. Giggsy, you have a good week, man.
Yes, sir. You too. Let's go Cats.
All right. Thanks, everyone, and we'll talk to you soon.